The savior of the Hero Association has finally arrived, and the hunt for the S-Class monster Sweet Mask begins. The cover page of One Punch Man Chapter 219, titled New, features Saitama and the Neo Heroes lineup. More specifically, the characters who didn't come from the Hero Association. But thanks to this, our colored cover streak has come to an end at 6 installments. High up in the mountains, a woman was complaining. The arduous trek was making her feet sore, but as the Hero Association scouting department, they had a job to do. She complained about martial artists always building their dojos in the boonies. And wow, Murata just couldn't help himself here. One of her colleagues urged her not to complain in front of the man they intended to meet, as getting on his bad side would be a fatal mistake. An axe was held overhead. The scout explained that Suicho is the master of the Void Fist, a unique fighting style that focuses on shifting your center of gravity for the sake of enhanced attack and defense. A massive log was split and added to countless others. Suicho is a martial artist whose strength is respected by all the greats. Now that Bang has retired from hero work, they believe Suicho would be the only one worthy of replacing him. In fact, doing so was a bit of a necessity. So it seems like Sitch has been keeping the plan to reform Garo and turn him into Bang's replacement a secret. And the sweaty lumberjack was revealed to be Suiko. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to talk about Bleach Soul Resonance. The game storyline features all of the anime's most iconic moments like you've never seen them before. You'll get hooked right away. Playing as Ichigo is a must, but there's a whole cast of characters to choose from. You can build your lineups, easily switch between characters, and unleash unique combos. The game is made to be an action-packed, cinematic, and interactive experience. So every Zanpakuto has been fine-tuned to be as satisfying as possible, making it so that each and every attack feels dynamic. And you already know that the Bankai are epic. With an 80 draw guarantee, you'll get a chance to get your favorite characters. So be sure to download Bleach Soul Resonance right now so you don't miss out. Anyways, Suiko let the scouts know that her grandfather died 2 years ago, but she was sure that he would be really happy to have been invited to join the S-Class heroes. That said, he was also very stubborn, so he'd probably turn it down either way. She asked them to light an incense stick in his honor. One of the scouts lamented the extension of their losing streak, but his co-worker wondered if one of the late master's students might be especially strong. However, unlike Bang and his dojo of disciples, Suicho only trained his grandchildren, those grandchildren being Suiko and Suiru. But her brother Suiru is more of a free spirit and hasn't been to the dojo in years. As Mr. McCoy put it, his only principle is that he has no principles. That finally made the scout deflate. But Suiko's next statement certainly caught their attention. With a smile, Suiko decided to become a hero, but more specifically, an S-Class hero. From there, we go to Neo Heroes headquarters, and instead of Metal Knight's drones, these guys have armed guards. Mr. A mentioned Sweet Mask's monstrous revelation. He marked it off as another big loss for the Hero Association. And you know, since the last chapter, this guy's hairstyle and entire aesthetic have changed. So now he seems to be a lot cooler than he might actually be. The Neo executives were having another meeting. Zaydatz was more interested in the fact that as a monster, Sweet Mask isn't protected by the law anymore. The former idol has officially lost his human rights. As a modern mogul himself, the Batman wannabe felt pity for the fallen star. Axel's distrust of the Hero Association was certainly supported by the revelation, but he kept his cool. And a sudden crash made it clear that not everyone shared his composure, as over his shoulder, Wavy Gyaza had just brutalized a pillar. Wavy Gyaza cursed Sweet Mask for turning out to be a monster, and especially for retiring over it. Frustrated and crying, she mourned her dream of beating him with her superior strength as an idol. Silently, Mr. A had to wonder if she knows that being the advertising pillar of the organization is just a side job, while Zaydatz rationalized that Wavy Gyaza was on a long hiatus before recently. He's also pretty sure that she paid a lot of money for plastic surgery or something like that. which are just about the same sort of comments that Sweet Mask dealt with. But now that they were all assembled, Mrs. McCoy decided to properly begin the meeting by way of hologram. With a confident smirk, the schemer was sure that the loss of Sweet Mask would be the beginning of the end for the Hero Association. And of course he was making this call from Hero Association headquarters. But thanks to their political efforts, the legal permissions of Neo Heroes have been expanded. They can now openly operate with authority identical to that of the Hero Association, which means that they can carry weapons and use force for the sake of conducting heroic activities. But some of these guys are borderline or outright criminals. So to Ryumon, that just means that they can treat the streets like a GTA server. But at the same time, Darkshine realized that he hadn't seen Blue today. Metal Bat wondered if their appointed leader was already skipping meetings, which must seem like a hereditary trait thanks to his dad Blast. At the bar with a cold glass of juice, Wild Emperor mentioned that Blue looked happy when he rushed out earlier, along with the fact that he's been gone ever since. Apparently, Blue decided that this would be the Neo Heroes' first job, the extermination of the monster that has taken the media by storm. That's right, Blue is going to kill Sweet Mask. But given just how strong Sweet Mask is in his monstrous form, Blue has to be a powerhouse to do anything like that. But while the Neo Heroes were preparing for a hunt, Saitama was in a pet shop buying some dog food. Although, after all that premium beef from Fubuki and the Blizzard Group, some cheap kibble might not be up to Rover's standards. And of course it's cheap since it's Saitama we're talking about here. This chapter was about 4.5 pages of the webcomic, and the contents were almost identical. But even so, the surrounding context is very different. In the webcomic, this is actually the first time the Void Fist and its practitioners are mentioned. After all, the Super Fight Tournament isn't a part of the original story. But in the manga, we already know Suiko and Suiru. This is mostly just a refresher since we got all of this information from the Monster Association arc. In fact, we know Suiru even better than his sister, even though she appeared before him in the webcomic. In the manga, Suiru is a famous reigning champion, so it's weird that the scouts wouldn't already know or be after him. The scouts also feel a bit more dismissive of Suiko in the manga. Thanks to the simplicity of the webcomic's art, we don't directly see their disappointment, and Suiko frames her desire to be a hero more as a request as opposed to the manga's feigned reluctance. Beyond that, the timing of events has been changed. In the webcomic, Suiko is recruited to the Hero Association before the Neo Heroes meeting that introduced us to their roster. Manga Suiru has already had his life changed by Saitama, while at this point, webcomic Suiru didn't even know he existed. The manga also made Suiru so attracted to Wavy Gyaza that seeing her made him give Neo Heroes a go. And this is despite the manga version making one of Suiru's gags the fact that he can make beautiful women sim for him on sight. The last time Wavy Gyaza seemed to be in distress, Suiru sprung into action immediately. So the fact that he doesn't even react to her most emotional display yet is strange. Unfortunately, the manga's changes to characters aren't always consistent. In fact, I'd argue that in the grand scheme of things, Suiko is arguably the more relevant character to Saitama. She's certainly not as strong as her brother, but the whole point of the current Association versus Neo Heroes dynamic is that the new group continues to one-up the old one, so it makes sense for Neo Heroes to nab the seemingly superior sibling, only for his little sister to be the real gem. After all, she just so happens to be the only hero the Association has been able to recruit since the Neo Heroes hit the scene. That said, if they do make Suiko an S-Class hero immediately, Tatsumaki might destroy a few buildings in outrage. Ultimately, the criteria for S-Class is the ability to reliably defeat disaster-level demon monsters on your own. And based on what we've seen so far, there's no way she can beat Deep Sea King, Mosquito Girl, or Grizzly Nya. But it's not like Suiko is a total weakling either, so A-Class would be more appropriate. And one thing about A-Class heroes is that they tend to group up and work together. So it's only a matter of time before Suiko meets Saitama. And at least from what we've seen so far, she's actually a likable person. so it shouldn't take long for her to surpass the acquaintance status of the Psychic Sisters. And whatever the case, I'm sure Murata is excited to draw her abs more often. Almost as excited as I am for the next chapter, because it might set up one of my favorite jokes in the series. Although I am worried that Murata might throw ninjas at it. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.